Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This evening is beautiful Sunday night here in Florida. Hope it's beautiful where you are. So this is Sunday Night Alive. My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. We are here to engage in powerful conversations about practical spirituality, about who we are, how we are, and how who we are and how we are impacts the rest of the world and our personal lives as well, of course. If you are joining me, please take a moment and say hello on the chat. Just let me know you're here. That way I know I am with you as well. We create a kind of a little spiritual community right here using technology. It's very, very beautiful and wonderful. So I hope you all enjoyed last week. It was recorded, but I was in Baltimore with family, and it was also very lovely. But I'm back. I just feel so inspired about tonight's topic. It's vision, passion, and possibility. And we really can't have too much of that because it is the first indicated thing to talk about when we talk about moving into a life of spiritual power, which is a life in which we are kind of in charge of our own destiny, where we are consciously creating the world we live in, where we are aware of our God-given skills and talents and responsibility to actually be good citizens of this planet. So that's our topic for tonight: vision, passion, and possibility. And this is always this has been my life's work for a really long time. That I grew up in a very restricted environment in which there was no possibility presented, where there was no thought or idea that we could actually have any impact on the world whatsoever. So there was kind of this meaninglessness that I just started tackling in my 40s that cannot possibly be true because the world is a magical place. Somebody said to me, I think I was probably actually mildly complaining about aging. And this person I was talking to is a decade older than me and definitely not even anywhere nearly as healthy as I am, to which he said, while smoking a cigarette, I think old age is precious. It's like, precious you do? So I said, tell me more about this precious life, how precious old age is. I needed to hear it. So I think we all need to hear this thing about vision and passion and possibilities. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So put on your receptivity hats, right? Open your heart, open your mind. If you're with me, I know that you care about the same things I care about, and that there's we really, well, we'll talk about it tonight. I'm gonna say a prayer to bless us as we come into this evening. I had the quote up here, which I love, which is, "There's no planet, sun, or star could hold you if you but knew what you are." So it is with that idea that I just invite us into prayer for a moment. I invite us into a closing of the outer eyes, if that's comfortable for you, because it then allows us to open our inner eyes. Closing our outer eyes is an invitation to invite the world, both personally and globally, to be outside. And that includes the news. It includes any problems you're having, any areas of concern you're dealing with, and not to pretend they don't exist, but to simply, by opening our inner eyes, we begin to gaze into that space that has dominion over the outer circumstances, that has power, that has the potential to transmute and transcend and to transform our outer experience. Everything in the outer happens from the inner. And so as we turn within, we pause for a moment to recognize the Great Spirit. We pause to recognize the intelligence, the wisdom, and the beauty that surrounds us. We pause to recognize a power greater than ourselves that is both a friend, a companion, a guide, a counselor, a lover, truly a lover of our souls. And so we start there and recognize that each one of us was made in the image and likeness of that. We are love incarnated. We are peace incarnated. And that nothing could ever change that. And so recognizing our connection with all that is, including each other, I just bless our time together. I call it perfect, whole, and complete. I know that our being here matters, that we walk away with some new idea, some new way of living, some new possibility. And so I call it good even before we really start, and just invite you to accept that for yourself and for everyone who's within the sound of my voice by saying, and so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Amen. So hello there, Les. Hello there, David. Hello. Thank you for checking in. So, I'm keenly aware in life, I'm keenly aware in life that there is a gap between, really, let me turn this off. There's a gap between what is and what we would like to be. There's a gap often between what we have and what we would like to have, or who we are and who we'd like to be, or how our relationship is and how we would like our relationship to be. And it's always been a conundrum for me because it seems that if what I believe is true, and I do believe it's true, and if what I believe is truly how things work around here, then there should be not so much of a gap. But as you'll see as we continue to talk about this tonight, I can see why the gap happens. But because it's almost self-evident that if we knew that the world would be a much different place if we were different. And I don't mean we like you and me, though you and me as well, of course, but if human beings in general were different, the world would be different. If what the problems of the world could be solved and resolved if we knew how to solve and resolve them. And we obviously, the majority of us don't know how to solve and resolve it, because if we did, it's self-evident that things would be different, but they're not. So powerlessness over circumstances is far more real than powerfulness. So my work, A Life of Power, really has to do with empowering people to transcend powerlessness into powerfulness, and to actually from being victims to being really powerful co-creators, certainly in your own life. And there's nothing selfish about that. There's nothing foolish about that. There's nothing trivial about that. There's nothing about that. It's like you and I were made to be powerful. We are made by power to be powerful. We are made by power to co-create a destiny. So that's we've been given God-given skills and talents and the capacity to create. So why? The question is why do we, as a species, much less an individual, and individuals create a lot of suffering in their own lives too. In fact, it's always a choice. It doesn't feel like a choice sometimes, but it is a choice. But why do we continue creating suffering when we don't really have to create suffering? We can create anything we want. I was talking to a group today, and I really came back into the realization that if there was a God looking down on Earth, if there's a God looking at Earth and looking at us and looking at all the corners of the planet, Africa, Russia, which, by the way, God did not create Africa or Russia or the United States. No, God did not create that. God created this environment for us as a species to play and to communicate and to cooperate and to dance and to sing and to enjoy. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure that if God were watching, she's laughing, she's curious, she's confused. So it's like, I gave you everything so that you could create paradise on earth, and you chose to do this. Why? Why? So it begins with us, because there is a prerequisite to global change, which is personal transformation. It's just the way it works. There's this quote that I love, that says, if you believe you can't, you can't. If you believe you can, you might. And if you believe God can, you will. So there is something in our own environment of belief that is important. But most of us are stuck. There is kind of a stuckness in life, a stuckness with the past, a stuckness with history. History meaning our belief in evidence, our belief in physical sciences that say if you can't see it or touch it, it's not real, or the idea, believe only what you see, believe what you read. And in truth, it's all backwards, because what we can see and feel and touch and taste is temporary, and it's the end result of consciousness. So when you change consciousness, you change, but still the majority of people are stuck with the world is real, and what's going on here is real. And then somehow you and we have to figure out what to do with this thing that's really not real to begin with. So let's see if we can get a little bit unstuck tonight. Now, God is, in our conversations, is not a being. God is not a superhuman. God is not over there in a body like ours, right? So we tend to create God in our image and likeness, which is really a very big mistake, but we made it so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We haven't undone our mistake yet. But God isn't like us, fickle, jealous, punishing, rewarding. But God is more like, I don't really know that I know for sure, but I would like to call him or her or it. I like Ernest Holmes calls God the thing itself. But when we use the word, we're using the word to describe a two-aspect something. One, which is love. So love is the fabric of this universe. It's the glue that connects. It's the possibility of survival. It's a possibility of healing. It's a possibility of resurrection. It's a possibility of the phoenix rising. That love is the healing balm and the connective tissue of the entire universe. And the second aspect of this thing we call God is the spiritual, is the laws, is the law, the creative process, this ability to turn thoughts into things, this ability to, through these God-given gifts, to actually mold. Actually, I want to share it. There's a beautiful quote from the man who wrote, James Allen, the man who wrote As a Man Thinketh. And he says in this little tiny book, which, by the way, if you've never read As a Man Thinketh, and you want to really put your arms around the power of thought, it would be worth your read. And you can download it from the internet free. Anyway, he says, man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of conditions, environments, and destinies. And why we are that is because destinies are created by thought, by mind, really probably more specifically. But your mind and my mind are part of God's mind. We are not separate from God. God is not out there. God is here and there, in you and me and everyone you know and everyone you don't know. 8 billion of us. God is expressing itself. So love and law is, I like to think of God as a process with a personality, that, and I know it sounds, it's, it I know it's hard to wrap your brain around it, or to wrap your heart around it. But the truth is that we didn't make ourselves. And if you could for an instant take 8 billion people off the planet. So let's take off the planet everything man has created, including man. Well, we didn't create ourselves, but let's take man off the planet, and you will find something that's innately magical, mysterious, beautiful, awe-inducing, extraordinary, perfectly balanced, harmonious, the complete circle of life as it should be. Um, there's, dolphins don't go kill other dolphins for fun. There's just this kind of this beauty in this natural environment. And, we kind of showed up and messed it up because we don't understand. But, human beings don't yet, we're just now evolving into a new consciousness, a new understanding. And if you think about evolution and human beings, you can see that, we evolved into figuring out how to make fire, how to hunt, how to grow, how to build. We figured out how to use what God has done to fly airplanes. And we're just now moving out of the discovery and utilization of physical sciences into mental sciences. We're just now starting. So it's a very exciting time. You should ponder why you chose to come live here now. Like, why are you and I here now? And if you're here now, it's because you are part of the ushering in of this new consciousness, especially if you're interested in what I'm saying. Most people I know would have zero interest in this conversation whatsoever. But we're learning, right? So we are learning how to harness the power of thought in order to change the conditions of our personal lives and to change the conditions in the world. We are certainly not victims. We are thinkers. We are thinkers. So vision, I like the word vision. There's a quote in the Bible that says, without vision, the people will perish. There's also a beautiful quote, vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. And this is all really pointing to vision, which I have a wonderful definition. It says the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination and wisdom. The dictionary didn't add a spiritual component in there, but vision also has the quality of being able to see that which isn't. It was George Bernard Shaw's quote made famous by John F. Kennedy, who said, some look at things that are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. This is really where vision and possibility come to meet, because possibility is not real today. It's not actual today. If you come to me and you're working on abundance issues, and we're trying to increase your net worth and put money in your bank account, the day that we start doing that, there isn't that money in your bank account, because what money in your bank account is a function of your consciousness around money. It's a function of your history of thinking about money, of acting around money. It's not an accident. You're not a victim of circumstance. So in order to change the amount of money or the amount of abundance you'll allow into your life, we have to change who you are around money, or what you think about it, how you feel about it. And sometimes it takes a minute to really dig into the belief systems and to change them. And sometimes it can happen like a revelation. But the moment consciousness changes, the outer changes as well. So change your consciousness around money and your money will change. Now, I add the word passion in there because the law of mind, or the ability to manifest, is exalted by, enlivened by, expanded by enthusiasm and passion, deep feeling. So when you set your mind to do something, the more excited you are about it, the more committed you are to it, um, the more you talk about it, sing about it, pray about it, the more you think about it, the more you draw pictures about it, the more likely and the faster it's actually going to demonstrate or manifest. Now, I have no doubt that if you want a red car, that you can manifest a red car for yourself. Now, can you do it in one day? I don't know. I think if we all had the faith in the efficacy of what we're talking about, that we could manifest instantaneously. I think there are living beings who do manifest instantaneously. I think that if I believed I could walk on water, as could you. Now, I don't know that I could ever believe that, which is probably why I'll never be able to do it. But if I could actually believe I could walk on water, I could walk on water, as could you. So this creative process of mind, this science of the mind, science of mind, it is like gravity. It's 100%, works all the time. We've been using it since the moment we showed up in these bodies. It works for every single person, all 8 billion of us. There's not one person whose mind is not creative. There's not one person whose thoughts and feelings and beliefs do not impact their circumstances, conditions, and destiny. So there's life is not the end result of luck. It's not the end result of evil perpetrators. It's not the end result of God's favor or disfavor of you. It is purely consciousness. And consciousness is deeply embedded. So, when you remember when I lived in Kenya for 6 months, and I remember doing a class, a spiritual class for Kenyan students. And I remember asking them all, there was 12 of them, I think, 11 or 12. And I wanted them all to write down what life was like being Kenyan, right? That was just a question. Write down a word that describes what life as a Kenyan is like. 100% of the students I asked, all 12 of them wrote down that the life of a Kenyan is hard. So the consciousness of the culture was that life in Kenya is hard for Kenyans. Now, even though that's not a true statement, it's not an ordained statement. Life doesn't have to be hard for Kenyans. God never said life should be hard for Kenyans. Nobody ever said life should be hard. But yet, if enough people believe that life is going to be hard for them, it will be hard for them. So I'm not really saying that if you go to Kenya, that you're not going to see, you're going to come away and say, wow, those people, they have a hard life. But we don't want to stop there, because I don't want the Kenyans to have a hard life. I want them to have a happy life and an easy life, a happy, fulfilled life. I don't want people walking into McDonald's with machine guns and killing people, right? I want love to be prevalent. So we don't want to accept circumstances. That's my point. My point is you don't want to accept the status quo, because the status quo is the result of consciousness. So what we want to do, if there's a gap between what is and what we want, we have the power and the capacity, with some commitment and some deliberateness and some faith, to change the way things are. So now it is quite complicated, because the universe has 8 billion people in it, right? And every single one of those people is a point of consciousness. So it's not, uh, so we have our task in front of us. I'm going to share something with you at the end of this in just a few minutes that will begin to speak to your role, like the contribution we make to this conversation, because we do make a very, very powerful contribution. So do not ever give up. Do not ever say, it's too hard. I don't make a difference. Nothing I do matters. That's just not the case. So, but it's no easy thing. If change was easy. So there's a kind of a list of things that we have to know in order to really move in the direction of being conscious consciousness changers. There's some things you have to embrace and really kind of embody meaning, take it in as true, or take it in, like play with it and experiment. You have to take my word for it. I've already proved most of this to myself, but I had to prove it. Just because somebody said it to me didn't make it real. So I had to walk the walk. So one of them is that one of the things we have to agree with or buy into or accept for ourselves is that you are not who you think you are, that you are a spiritual entity. You are a spiritual being, birthless, deathless, eternal, who is temporarily in a carbon footprint. So you are not your body. You have a body you are using. You are not your brain. You have a brain that serves the function of the body, right? Like regulatory systems in the body. It has also some interesting memory, helps you to cross the street without, getting hit by a bus. But your consciousness, this is inside a bigger construct of consciousness. So you on the earth plane are an extension of consciousness. We talked about this a little bit a week or so ago, I think, when we talked about the idea that there is a non-physical you that you're connected to on the spiritual side of life. But it's just something you have to embrace. And sometimes, listen, as an aging body, so I'm a spirit in an aging body, I have to have this conversation with myself all the time. Denise, you are not your aging body. You're more. You're more than this. You're not your aging body. You are more, right? You are eternal. There is ultimately no sickness, death, and destruction. It's just we're spiritual beings in a human body. Number one. Number two, it is possible, and this may not feel possible yet, but it is possible, I'm here to tell you, to neutralize the past, no matter what the past was, so that it stops running your adult life. And ultimately, you will come to see that your past was the perfect training ground to prepare you to be in the world as a difference maker in whatever your sphere of influence is. So it is possible for the past to be put to peace, to be put to bed. Totally possible. So continue doing the work if it's not there yet, right? And some people's past is pretty traumatic, right? I mean, there's a lot of very difficult childhoods, very difficult experiences, but it doesn't, nothing's too hard for God. Nothing's too hard for love. So love can transcend the past. So it is possible. It is possible. It is possible to be unbotherable by other people and what they say and do. It is possible to live in response and not reaction. It's possible to have somebody, could you imagine, really think about some spiritual avatar you love. Could be Mother Mary, could be Mary, could be Mother Teresa, could be Gandhi, could be Jesus, could be a spiritual teacher, but think about somebody and just imagine if you walked up to them and said, "You're really ugly and stupid." do you think they would react, or do you think they would just see that from their perspective of being living a spiritually powerful life, that they would be more interested in why you said that than reacting? That you would not devastate them or hurt their feelings. They would not hit you or yell at you or shame you or blame you or block you or unfriend you. So that's what I mean by unbotherable. That now most of us are like, we watch the news and we get 72 buttons pushed, or we go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas coming up. It is possible to be in life so poised, so confident, so comfortable in your own skin that you can let other people just be who they are without being triggered. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? It is possible to change your mind. It is possible in an instant, and certainly over time, to change your mind about anything and to wake up completely different, thinking different, acting different, being different. It is possible to get sober overnight. It's possible to quit smoking. It's possible to become more loving. It's possible to reconcile a relationship. It's possible. You can change any minute. It's really just a matter of decision. It's a matter of choice. But you and I have the power to do that. And as soon as we connect the dots, which is, oh, I see, my mind the way I think has something to do with what's in my life. And what Reverend Denise is saying is that if I change my mind, maybe that will change. I'm telling you, it will certainly change. It will assuredly change. It's like gravity. It has to change. If you change, it has to change. So you just hold for a moment that it's possible. And it is just as possible to, I'm holding, maybe, I don't know if in my lifetime, I don't know, because, I'm aging now, but I think it's possible that we can change the world. And I'm going to tell you why, because I pulled for us this wonderful thing. I don't know if you've heard of the 100th monkey, theory. I'm going to tell it to you because it is a beautiful illustration of the difference that you and I make and why we should keep on making the difference we can where we are, no matter what the world looks like. And listen, we have been challenged to the nth degree the last 3 or 4 years. We have, between COVID, just, you name it, whatever, at least in my experience, whatever could possibly have us slip into hopelessness or pessimism or doubt has happened. So we now need to regroup and really come back at life, bringing into life what we want life to look like. Abraham, I think I quoted this recently too. Abraham says, in your pain or in your anger, you offer the world anger. And in your joy, you offer the world joy. So, this is a beautiful quote by our Pope, I think our current Pope. And he says, and I love this, a very awakened thing to say. He says, consult not your fears or your hopes and dreams, or consult not your fears for your hopes and your dreams. Think not about your frustrations, but about your unfilled potential. Concern yourself not with what you tried and failed in, but what is still possible for you to do. It's a beautiful, what is still possible for you to do, whether you're 20 or 40 or 75 or 80, it's like, what's still there for us to do? And I'm going to tell you, ultimately, radical love and radical support of the people around you and yourself is what there is for you to do, no matter what age you are at. So in 1980, I'm going to tell you the story about the 100th monkey. In 1980, Lyle Watson proposed the theory is called the 100th monkey effect. And it has to do with a study of monkeys that started taking place, I think it was 1952, on the island of Koshima. And a group of scientists were observing a group of monkeys. And what they did is they introduced to these monkeys sweet potatoes covered in sand. So the monkeys loved the sweet potatoes, but they didn't like the sand because very sandy. So at some moment, an 18-month-old female monkey discovered that she could wash the sand off the potato before she ate it. So she would go to the stream, to the ocean, wash off the sand, and then eat it. And she taught this trick to her mother. And then pretty soon, and also to all her playmates. So pretty soon, all the parents of these young monkeys were learning from their children and were washing off the potatoes, the sand off the potatoes, in order to eat them. Between 1952 and 1958, all of the young monkeys had learned how to do this on this particular island, and all their parents, who were smart enough to watch their children and also learn how to wash their potatoes before eating them. So in 1958, a certain number of monkeys were washing their sweet potatoes, and the exact number is not known, but in the morning, let's say, there were 99 monkeys who were washing their potatoes, and by dusk on that same day, there were 100 monkeys. And by later that evening, almost everyone on this island were washing their potatoes, but what happened is that this 100th monkey created an ideological breakthrough. The breakthrough is that all of a sudden, with no physical connection, all the monkeys on the neighboring islands started washing their food. So the conclusion was drawn. I'm going to read it to you the way it's written. A hypothesis was then drawn when a certain critical number achieves an awareness. This new awareness can be communicated through mental energy. The 100th monkey phenomenon implies that when only a limited number of people know of a new way, it remains the conscious property of only these people. So before I continue, I'm going to read that again. When only a limited number of people are aware of a new way, it remains a property of only those people. So translate this to the world for just a minute. So you have 8 billion people. How many of those 8 billion people are following a spiritual path that is empowering to them? Who believe that the mind is a God-given tool of creation, who believe that love is more powerful than hate, who believe that fear, doubt, and worry can be eliminated. Of the 8 billion, how many people are practicing what we're attempting to practice here? I would submit to you that plenty of people, but not enough yet. That still, there's just a small subset of people who are surrendering, living life at the effect of life, to living life as the director of life or the director of their own destiny, who even believe that you can. So right now, we may be the small group that still belongs to us, but here's the kicker. He says, here lies a point over which even a single addition of a new awareness can significantly strengthen the field of awareness to the extent that it is picked up by almost everyone within a short period of time. When a certain number achieves awareness, the new awareness may be communicated from mind to mind. The 100th monkey phenomenon points out our responsibilities and our power. So on one hand, we could say, what's the use? There's just too many people. The world's too crazy. It's too hard. How can I make a difference? I just live here in Naples, and I just mind my own business. How can I possibly affect what goes on anywhere? But this 100th monkey phenomenon is saying it's all connected. And what happens here is felt there. What happens there is felt here. And maybe not at first, but if enough people refuse to get mad, or enough people who release their weapons, either real weapons or the weapons in their mind, if enough people do that, then some major shift will happen overnight. Peace can happen overnight. Now, you and I don't know what that magic number is, but I do know that I can be among the group of monkeys that are washing the potatoes, right? You and I can be among the group of people who are dropping our resentments, who are forgiving our enemies. We can be among the group of people who are trying to smile at people in the grocery store, who are helping children cross the street. We can be those people. And we can be the people who take responsibility for our emotions and our feelings, and we can stop blaming people for making us unhappy. Nobody can make you unhappy, right? So we can become unbotherable. So all of the points I made, this idea that we can transcend the pain of our past. We can transcend what's considered normal in the world. That we can actually create ourselves brand new anytime we want to by simply opening our minds, changing our minds, thinking a new thought, starting a new path. And I love groups like this. Now, there's not many of us here tonight, and I don't know how many people actually pay attention to what I'm doing in my living room every Sunday night. But some are, and I am aware that something's happening, that I'm doing something, right? And while I'm doing that, I'm living my life just like you are and dealing with disappointments and successes just like you are. So that's our lesson for tonight. Our lesson for tonight is Carl Jung says, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. So within you, within your very consciousness, within your very self, right this moment, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done or not done, no matter what you do or don't do, you are a child of God, beloved, adored, respected, exalted, and that you have a right to be happy and you have a right to live a very, very wonderful life. So that is our lesson for today. If you are not receiving my written blog, I actually haven't done one for 2 weeks, but I'm going to do one this week. If you are not receiving it, you can go to my website and sign up, DeniseSchubert.com. You can also, if you want to support this ministry with a love offering or a tithe, you can also do that by going to my website or through PayPal and Zelle. Or if you are moving through things and working really to change and would like some spiritual life coaching, someone to listen or to support you in how you might move in the direction of your own unlimited possibilities, you can you can email me or through my website, and I'd be happy to spend some time with you. So that is it. So I'm going to pray us out, simply just to bless our time together. So really the lesson is vision, passion, and possibility. And really have fun with it. Don't make it too hard. Don't make it too hard because it's not really that hard. It's really just a matter of being open. So, all right, so let's just take a moment, turn within with me once again, turning within to that space and place and dimension within you that is whole, perfect, and complete right now, that there's nothing that you need to do, nothing that needs to be added, nothing that needs to be subtracted in order for you to be wonderful. You are already wonderful, not because you're so wonderful, but because God is wonderful as you. And so I recognize this power, this presence, this life that is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, omnibenevolent, that is everywhere. It is in everything. It is everywhere in everyone. Maybe not recognized yet, but it is there. And this is what I know is that right where I am is love. Right where you are is love. It is that golden thread that connects us one to another. It's that golden thread that connects us to our friends and our enemies, to people who live here or who live in China or Africa or Brazil, that God did not make these borders, we did. So we are one, we are united, we are connected. And so it is from that place of recognizing love as the thread and law as the way that we move into powerful and positive self-expression that I just speak my word for and about each and every person within the sound of my voice, claiming and proclaiming your divinity, claiming and proclaiming your capacity to change, claiming and proclaiming the perfection of your life exactly the way that it is and exactly the way that it is not. And so what I know and affirm for you in this moment is that when we begin to change our consciousness, the way that we think, that our outer circumstances will begin to change. It's how it works, that we are evolving into a deep and powerful understanding of the spiritual laws and principles that govern life on this earth. It's the rule book we were never given. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we have a chance to come together to just really just do give each other a little bit of kudos for the journey of this life, the amazing challenge that it is to walk our walk, to talk our talk, to show up every day in every way possible, to be better and to bring better to the world that we live in. And so for our time together tonight, I'm grateful. We let it be, knowing that the manifestation is even now taking place. We accept this for ourselves and each other by saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen, amen. So wonderful to be with you tonight. Look forward to the blog this week. I'm going to blog on this one, and I will see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. on Sunday Night Alive. Peace and blessings to you.